Stephanie White can't coach herself out of her paper bag. You know what good coaches do? They get their players to play better than they're capable of when it matters.
The Indiana Fever don't have a talent problem. They don't have a roster problem. What they have is something far more dangerous, a leadership problem. Because when your most explosive rookie drops 11 points in just 12 minutes, then vanishes from the rotation like she never existed, that's not just a coaching mistake, that's sabotage. And the worst part? Ownership saw it happen in real time. Herb Simon wasn't just sitting courtside to watch another regular season matchup. What he witnessed was a live demonstration of everything wrong with this franchise's direction. A decision so baffling, so indefensible, that it's now being called the breaking point of Stephanie White's tenure. This story isn't about one substitution, or even one game. It's about a pattern of decisions that reveal a deeper, systemic flaw in how this team is being built. And the rookie benching scandal you're about to hear might just be the smoking gun that forces Simon to take action. But before we dive into the insider details and the statistical proof, let's start with the moment that exposed everything. It all came crashing down in a single, unforgettable sequence. Khloe B, a rookie barely getting touches all season, steps onto the floor and immediately changes the game. 11 points in 12 minutes. Not empty stats, not garbage time numbers, but real momentum-shifting buckets that gave the Fever the spark they've been desperate for. The kind of performance that makes fans sit up, teammates rally, and even opposing coaches start scribbling adjustments. And then, nothing. No follow-up, no expanded role, no reward for proving she could deliver under pressure. Instead, Khloe B disappeared, not because she failed, but because her coach chose to freeze her out. While the Fever's offense sputtered and their lead slipped away, the one player who had shown she could ignite the team never even got another chance. Meanwhile, across the court, the Mystics rookies weren't just playing, they were thriving. Kiki Irvin dropped 18 points and pulled down 12 boards. Sonia Citrin looked fearless, outclassing Fever guards with every possession. These weren't seasoned veterans dominating. These were first-year players stepping into the spotlight and making the moment theirs. The contrast couldn't have been more glaring. The Fever's young spark plug was shackled to the bench, while Washington's rookies torched Indiana's so-called franchise players. For Fever fans, it was humiliating. For the players watching from the sidelines, it was demoralizing. But for Herb Simon, sitting just feet away, it was damning. Because what he witnessed wasn't just another collapse, another lost lead, another close game slipping through the cracks. He saw undeniable proof that his head coach doesn't understand how to maximize his assets. That's why this game is being remembered not just as another loss, but as the moment everything broke open. The rookie benching wasn't just indefensible. It was the kind of decision that exposed a deeper philosophy problem. And once you see it through Simon's eyes, you realize this wasn't a fluke. It was a symptom of something far worse. But the story doesn't end with a single bad choice. To understand why this scandal has ignited so much outrage, we need to look at the numbers, the cold, hard evidence that makes White's decision impossible to defend. Numbers don't play favorites. They don't care about veteran status, coaching politics, or locker room hierarchies. They tell the truth. And the truth of this scandal is staring us right in the face. Just one game earlier, Khloe B had delivered exactly what this team has been begging for: instant offense, high efficiency, and game-changing energy. 11 points in 12 minutes. That's nearly a point per minute, the kind of production coaches dream about from a bench player. Add in her defensive spark and hustle plays that don't even show up in the box score, and the case for giving her more minutes was undeniable. On paper, she earned the right to play. But against the Mystics, her stat line tells a different, darker story. 0 points, 0 minutes, 0 opportunity. A rookie who had just proved she could deliver was iced out completely. And while she sat, the Fever's offense flatlined. The team blew a 13-point lead, shot under 40% in the second half, and collapsed down the stretch in a way that's become painfully predictable. Now let's flip the page and look at Washington's rookies. Kiki Irvin, 18 points, 12 rebounds, completely outworking and outshining all-star Aaliyah Boston. Sonia Citron, poised, aggressive, and fearless, filling up the stat sheet while Indiana's guards looked lost. These weren't garbage minutes. These were decisive plays in crunch time with the game on the line. The comparison is brutal. On one side, you have rookies thriving in the moment, producing when it matters most. On the other, you have a promising rookie left to rot on the bench while veterans like Odyssey Sims logged 26 minutes and delivered just 2 points in the second half. 2 points! That's not veteran leadership, that's wasted minutes. And this is where the numbers cut the deepest. They don't just prove White made a bad decision, they prove that decision cost the Fever a winnable game. Without a spark, Indiana fell 88-84. 4 points. 4 points separated the Fever from victory. Do you think Khloe B, fresh off an 11-12 performance, could have swung those 4 points? Every stat, every sign says yes. For Simon, sitting courtside with the data burned into his memory, this wasn't just about a single loss. This was about a coach ignoring the evidence in front of her, choosing status over production, comfort over results. And once the numbers told the story, fans didn't just see a questionable rotation, they saw malpractice. But if the stats expose the failure, the real damage runs deeper. Because when decisions like this start to pile up, it's not just about wins and losses. It's about what happens inside the locker room, the culture you build when production gets ignored. And that fallout is far more dangerous than a bad box score. For Herb Simon, this isn't just about basketball. It's about business. And when you look at this decision through the lens of a businessman who's built his empire by recognizing value and maximizing assets, the Khloe B benching takes on an entirely different meaning. Think about it. Khloe isn't just a rookie. She's an investment. A young asset with the potential to generate immediate returns and long-term growth. The moment she proved she could produce on the court, she became more than just another name on the roster. She became a valuable piece of the franchise's future. Any smart business leader knows that when an asset shows upside, you double down, you build momentum, you capitalize. But Stephanie White did the opposite. She ignored the spark, shelved the upside, and poured minutes into veterans who had already shown they couldn't deliver. Odyssey Sims logging 26 minutes for just 2 points in the second half, that's asset waste. And in any other industry, that kind of resource mismanagement would get you fired on the spot. For Simon, courtside wasn't just a seat at a game, it was a front row view of his investment being mishandled. Imagine pouring millions into a startup, watching a young product prove it works, only to see your CEO shelve it in favor of an outdated model that keeps failing. That's not just poor leadership, that's negligence. And the damage goes beyond one player or one decision. Every time White rewards veterans over production, she sends a message to the entire roster. Effort doesn't matter, results don't matter, status matters. That message corrodes culture. It tells young players that no matter how hard they work, no matter what they deliver, opportunity isn't guaranteed. It's the kind of culture that kills motivation, stalls development, and rots a franchise from the inside out. That's why this isn't just a coaching mistake. It's organizational negligence. Because when a head coach consistently chooses comfort over adaptation, politics over performance, she's not just hurting the box score, she's undermining the very foundation of the team. And Simon, who built a success on adapting quickly and maximizing value, can't ignore what he's seeing. But what makes this even more damaging is that the negligence doesn't stop at rotations or box scores. It seeps into the psychology of the locker room, creating ripple effects that no stat sheet can measure. And that's where the Fever's problems get even darker. On the surface, this looks like a bad substitution decision. But inside the locker room, the consequences are far more destructive. Because when a rookie pours her heart onto the floor, proves she can deliver under pressure, and then gets chained to the bench the very next game, what message does that send? It tells every young player on this roster that performance doesn't matter. It tells them that no matter how well they play, their effort can be erased with the stroke of a clipboard. That's not just frustrating, it's demoralizing. And when players start believing that effort doesn't equal opportunity, motivation dies. Think about the ripple effect. Aaliyah Boston watches rookies from other teams dominate while her own teammate, who just showed promise, sits ignored. Guards see veterans struggle but still get rewarded with heavy minutes. The culture becomes one where status outweighs merit, and that kind of environment suffocates growth. Why push yourself for a breakthrough performance if the reward is splinters on the bench? The psychology of a team is fragile. Great franchises build cultures where hard work is recognized, where young players believe their time will come if they prove themselves. That belief fuels competitiveness, drives energy, and creates momentum. But when the opposite happens, when effort is punished and production ignored, the culture curdles. Players stop believing in the system. They stop believing in the coach. And once trust is gone, it doesn't come back. That's the invisible damage Simon saw courtside. It wasn't just that his team lost a winnable game. It was that he watched the foundation of his franchise start to crack. The benching wasn't a single poor choice. It was a signal to every player in the locker room that the rules don't apply equally. That kind of toxic message eats away at chemistry, corrodes trust, and poisons development from the inside out. And here's the part that should terrify every Fever fan. Once a culture turns toxic, talent doesn't matter. You can draft stars, you can sign veterans, you can pour money into facilities, but if players believe the system is rigged against them, the franchise will never reach its potential.
That's why the Khloe B scandal is bigger than one rookie, one game, or even one coach. It's about what kind of culture this organization is allowing to take root. And the longer it goes unchecked, the harder it is to repair. But the fallout doesn't end in the locker room. The online conversation around this decision has exploded, and the chatter from fans, insiders, and even rival analysts suggests something much bigger is brewing. Because when a decision is this indefensible, people start looking for deeper explanations, and that's where the rumors begin. Here's where things get messy, because when a decision is this baffling, this indefensible, people start searching for explanations. And the deeper you look into the online chatter, the more disturbing the picture becomes. Now, let's be clear, nothing I'm about to share has been officially confirmed. But the buzz is too loud to ignore, and the patterns in these conversations are pointing in one direction. Fans on Reddit threads, insiders whispering on Twitter, and even some people close to the team all suggest the same thing. Herb Simon's frustration has reached a boiling point. Reports claim this isn't about a single game, or even just Khloe B. It's about a consistent pattern of developmental negligence, a pattern where rookies are stashed on the bench while veterans eat up minutes, despite offering little return. A pattern where status is rewarded over production, no matter what the numbers say. And if you've been watching this team closely, you know that pattern didn't start last week. Rumors suggest Simon has already begun questioning White's long-term vision. It's been said that he sees these decisions not as isolated mistakes, but as coaching malpractice, a term that's now popping up everywhere online. Fans are calling it negligence, insiders are framing it as wasted investment, and rival analysts are openly questioning how much longer Simon will tolerate it. And then there's the locker room angle. Whispers point to growing tension behind the scenes. Young players who feel ignored, veterans who see the culture shifting into politics over performance. Even assistant coaches, according to some online reports, are privately frustrated with White's refusal to adapt. Again, nothing is confirmed, but when so many voices echo the same frustrations, it starts to paint a compelling picture. The real kicker? Some speculation even ties this back to Simon's identity as a businessman. Think about it. This is an owner who built his empire by maximizing value and adapting to markets. Watching his coaching staff do the exact opposite, wasting valuable assets, sticking to rigid systems, is reportedly pushing him closer and closer to a breaking point. Now, we can't say with certainty what's happening behind closed doors, but if you trace the digital breadcrumbs from Reddit outrage to insider leaks to subtle shifts in media coverage, the signals are undeniable. Patience is running out. And when ownership's patience runs out, change follows. But while rumors point to growing cracks at the top, the most damning evidence of all doesn't come from whispers or speculation. It comes from what we can see on the court every night. The contrast between teams that develop their young talent and teams that bury it. And that's where the Fever's problem becomes impossible to ignore. If you want to understand just how damaging this decision was, you don't need to look at advanced analytics or behind-the-scenes whispers. All you have to do is watch what happened on the other side of the court. Because while Indiana buried its most promising rookie, Washington handed the keys to theirs, and the results were night and day. Kiki Irvin didn't just hold her own, she outplayed an all-star. 18 points, 12 rebounds, relentless energy on both ends of the floor. She looked fearless, like she belonged, like she was ready to seize her moment. Sonia Citron? Same story. Confident, aggressive, stepping into big shots and making the Fever's veteran guards look like they were standing still. These weren't empty stats padded in garbage time. These were game-changing plays delivered by first-year players when the outcome was still hanging in the balance. Now compare that to Indiana. Khloe B, fresh off an explosive 11-point, 12-minute performance, spent the night collecting splinters. The contrast couldn't have been more brutal. Mystics rookies were thriving, while Fever rookies weren't even allowed to compete. That's more than a coaching choice. It's a philosophical difference. Washington rewarded production. Indiana rewarded status. Washington leaned into fresh energy. Indiana clung to stale rotations. One team adapted to the moment, the other repeated the same failing patterns that have cost them games all season. And the scoreboard told the story. While Mystics rookies fueled an 18-7 second-half run, Indiana's veterans sputtered, missing shots, coughing up possessions, and watching a 13-point lead vanish. That 9-point swing wasn't just about missed shots. It was about two completely different approaches to development. This is the part that should terrify Fever fans. It's not just about losing one game. It's about falling behind in the developmental race that defines the future of every franchise. While Washington is building momentum with fearless young players, Indiana is handcuffing its talent, wasting opportunities, and sending signals that growth isn't valued. Herb Simon didn't need a scouting report to see it. Courtside, he watched two organizations operating under opposite philosophies, one maximizing assets, the other squandering them. And that contrast isn't just embarrassing, it's unsustainable. Because in today's WNBA, the teams that survive and thrive are the ones that trust their young players, reward production, and adapt quickly. Washington proved it, Indiana ignored it. And for Simon, that reality must have felt like a slap in the face. But if the Mystics exposed how far behind the Fever are competitively, the real dagger comes when you view this through a business lens. Because Simon didn't build an empire by ignoring value, and the benching scandal is starting to look like a case study in wasted assets. To really grasp why the situation cuts so deep, you have to step into Herb Simon's shoes. Simon isn't just an owner. He's a billionaire businessman who built his empire on one simple principle: maximize value. He knows how to identify assets with potential, invest in them at the right time, and adapt quickly when conditions change. That's how you stay ahead in any competitive market. So imagine his perspective. You've invested in a rookie who just proved she can deliver immediate returns. 11 points in 12 minutes, a spark your struggling team desperately needed. That's like discovering a product that works, a startup that shows instant growth. In Herb Simon's world, that's when you scale.
That's when you pour fuel on the fire. Instead, he watched his head coach shelve the product. Not because it failed, but because it didn't fit her outdated model. She doubled down on safe bets that were anything but safe. Veterans who logged heavy minutes without producing results. Odyssey Sims with 26 minutes for just 2 points in the second half. In business terms, that's like pouring resources into a department that bleeds money while ignoring the new division that's actually making a profit. No smart CEO would allow it. And here's the kicker. In sports, just like in business, wasted opportunities are the most expensive mistakes you can make. Because you don't just lose in the moment, you lose ground against competitors who are maximizing their assets. Washington proved that by letting their rookies thrive, while Indiana fell behind in real time. This is why fans and insiders keep using words like malpractice and negligence. They're not just talking about missed shots, they're talking about a coach ignoring the basic principles of value creation. Principles that Simon built his empire on. Principles that he expects his franchise to embody. From his perspective, White's philosophy doesn't just look outdated, it looks dangerous. Rigid rotations, status-based decisions, and wasted opportunities aren't just bad basketball. They're bad business. And Simon didn't spend decades building his reputation as a sharp, adaptive businessman to watch his franchise rot under leadership that refuses to do the same. The business case for change is clear. Every game where production is ignored, every rookie performance wasted, every loss that could have been avoided represents an erosion of value. And in Simon's world, when an executive consistently mismanages assets, you don't hand them more time, you hand them the door. But the real danger isn't just financial, it's cultural. Because when you waste opportunities long enough, you're not just losing games, you're losing belief. And that's where the Fever's problems spill into something even more dangerous than a bad win-loss record. At the end of the day, this scandal was never just about one rookie or one substitution or even one embarrassing loss. It's about what the Fever represent as a franchise and what they risk becoming if nothing changes. Because here's the truth. Every team faces tough decisions, every coach makes mistakes, and every rookie experiences ups and downs. But what separates contenders from pretenders is how those moments are handled. The Mystics saw potential in their rookies and doubled down. The Fever saw potential in theirs and buried it. That isn't just a bad call. It's a cultural signal. And culture is everything. Culture tells your young players whether they're truly valued or just filling roster spots. Culture tells veterans whether they're competing for their jobs or coasting on reputation. Culture tells fans whether the franchise is building something sustainable or just stumbling through the motions. Right now, Indiana's culture is screaming one message louder than anything else. Status matters more than production. That's a dangerous precedent, because once that belief sets in that your effort and results don't actually matter, the fallout spreads everywhere. Players lose confidence, fans lose patience, and ownership loses value. It's not just about the 2024 season, it's about what kind of organization Indiana wants to be 5 years from now.
The Khloe B scandal is more than a bad coaching decision. It's a case study in what happens when leadership refuses to adapt, when talent is ignored, when the stakes are repeated, when opportunity is wasted. A team doesn't just lose games, it loses its future. And if Herb Simon truly saw that from his courtside seat, then this may not just be the breaking point of Stephanie White's season. It may be the breaking point of her tenure altogether. Because eventually, every franchise has to make a choice: protect the system or protect the future. And after this scandal, it's hard to see how Indiana can keep doing both. So, what does it all mean? One game doesn't define a season. But sometimes one decision defines a coach. And this decision to bench Khloe B at the exact moment the Fever needed her most may go down as the moment everything changed. Because fans saw it, the players saw it, and most importantly, Herb Simon saw it. A rookie with momentum was frozen out, veterans with flat production were protected, a 13-point lead vanished in real time, and with it, the illusion that this franchise was on the right track. The fallout goes deeper than a box score. It's about culture, accountability, and whether Indiana is truly serious about building for the future. For Simon, the businessman who built an empire on value and adaptation, the question is no longer whether Stephanie White made a mistake. The question is whether he can afford to let her keep making them. And that's the part no one can ignore, because every day this culture continues, the Fever don't just lose games, they risk losing their future. But what do you think? Was this just one bad decision in a long season, or the clearest sign yet that a coaching change is inevitable? Drop your thoughts below because this conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon.